every UFC champion earns their belt. That part is just non-negotiable. But not every UFC champion defines their division. Some reigns elevate the belt, others just hold it. Today what we're going to do is break down the weakest championship reigns in each and every UFC division. Now this isn't just about the talent of the fighter, it's about the legacy as a champion. So we're going to go from flyweight to heavyweight, so let's start at the bottom. For flyweight we've got Nico Montano. She won the belt through the Ultimate Fighter, never defended it, never stabilised the division, and then the reign just ended. Pros is that, she's a tough, gritty fighter. She earned a title fair and square, but, the cons were she had no title defenses, she missed weight and had many health issues. And, when people talk about flyweight history, nobody even really mentions Nico Montano. Now for bantamweight, I have picked Renan Barão. I mean, at his peak, he was terrifying, but his championship legacies just, don't really make an impact. He's a great fighter and all, but as a champion, not so much. When the division had, evolved and became better, he didn't. Pros and cons. For the pros, I'm going to put he had elite prime years, he had strong finishing ability, and, he had an unbeaten streak early on, very long as well. But for the cons, I'd say they outweigh them. He had a rapid decline during the title era, he couldn't adapt to modern pace and pressure, and his reign aged poorly as competition improved. The only things that people really remember about Renan Barão was how it ended. And now for featherweight, this division is just brutal, and there's no true bad champions here. But if we're talking about the weakest reign, not the weakest fighter, I've got to say Frankie Edgar. He was an all-time great, but at 145 the margins are just way thinner. He had championship heart, elite wrestling and durability, and he took on absolute killers without hesitation. But he had a significant size disadvantage, he had a short reign, and he just never really settled into the division as a champion. He was a great fighter, he just didn't have a great featherweight title reign. Now moving up to lightweight, Jens Pulver. Alright, so given some context, Pulver was a pioneer, but the division outgrew him fast. He was the first UFC lightweight champion, he was a tough, gritty competitor, and he was important to the division's history. But, in a shallow era of competition, limited skill set compared to the modern lightweights, such as Islam Makhachev, you'd struggle against today's ranked fighters. The legacy matters, but, so does the evolution of the fighters. Now on to welterweight, we've got Matt Serra, one of the greatest upsets ever, and as a reign, it just ends there. Obviously, he famously shocked the world against GSP, which, GSP being a fan favourite didn't really give him much props. He's a solid boxer and brawler as a fighter, and an immortal UFC moment against GSP. And in an immediate dominant loss in the rematch and no successful defences, it really never looked like the best welterweight overall. He had an iconic moment, but a very, very weak championship run. Now on to middleweight, we've got Dave Meney, an early era champion before the division was truly matured, and that time really did define his legacy. He was a tough competitor and a champion in the developing era, but he had a limited well-rounded skill set and he would easily be outmatched in the modern middleweight, with no defining title reign moments. Not bad for his time, but he was just outdated by the history.
Now getting up to the light heavyweight division, we've got Jan Blachowicz.
A very strong fighter in his transitional era, he had heavy power, solid counter-striking, a legitimate title win, but he had very few clear defences and lost momentum quickly, and his era lacked a lot of dominant contenders. Sometimes timing wins belts, but longevity is the thing that truly keeps them, and unfortunately this just weren't one of them cases. Now on to heavyweight, Tim Sylvia in his second reign. I know this one will hurt because heavyweight is supposed to mean something. He was physically imposing, he used his size effectively, he was a legit champion. But, at the time, the division was just shallow. He had awkward, unconvincing performances, and his reign really aged badly as talent exploded later. And, when people talk about the baddest man on the planet, this reign rarely comes up. Now, here's the thing. Every one of these fighters earned their belt, but the championship history is about the impact that it gives when you win that belt and put it around your waist. Did you raise the standard, or did you just hold the belt until someone else took it? Timing is one of the things that really matters, competition matters, and legacies will never lie. If you want part 2, let me know in the comments if you'd rather see a worst title fights ever video or, the most underrated champions video. I'll see you all in the next one.